Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Lisa Witter. So how do you stay organized, and how do you stay focused on achieving the kind of impact that you want to have, both as a professional and as one of the leaders at Apolitical?
As a company, we use something called OKRs, which was made popular by Google. These are called objectives and key results. And what they are, basically, at the beginning of the year, you set what the big sort of goals are, what your objectives to reach them, and then you go quarter by quarter and you break those down per team. So every day, every single person in our company gets up with a clear idea of what they're supposed to do and how that fits into the larger direction we're going as a company. And that's great. It really helps with decision making, right? So much of what you're trying to do when you're running a business is you have to reduce friction, and new decisions to make are friction. You don't have time for them. So if it's not within the boundaries, 99% you're not going to do it. So we have real structured, measurable, held accountable systems that a lot of companies use. Like I said, OKRs that are very important. For me, you'll never see me without a notepad and a list. One of the pieces of advice I got in my career is the best thing you can do every day is in the morning, write down what you need to do. And at the end, check yourself out about what you did and what you need to do the next day. And I spent a lot of time checking myself in and checking myself out. I've tried a million computer programs. None of that works for me. It's that handwritten, checking myself in, checking myself out. And what I like about checking myself out is at the end of the day, when I've done everything I can, plus one other thing I do that's really important is I do real-time scheduling. So if you were to look at my calendar for the week, it's completely full. And even if there's a block that says leave time for spontaneous things, I block every moment. Like, this is when I check email. This is when I go to lunch. This is when I do my reading. This is when I'm going to write this proposal. This is when I'm going to have this call. And that way I can be very accountable to myself and be realistic about what I can get into my day and what I can't. So with real-time scheduling and checking myself, checking in, I stay really, really on top of things.
Wow. You are super, super disciplined.
Yeah. I think that's from being an athlete. You don't achieve great things unless you're disciplined. And I get a lot of pleasure out of being disciplined because discipline allows for freedom, right? So at night, when I check myself out, it says in my calendar, 6 p.m., check myself out, and I go home to my kids. I'm not spinning, right? It's all written down. I've done it. And I can just really be present. And that's what happens if you don't do this. You work all the time and you actually don't get to live your life. And it's in those moments of living your life that the ahas happen. And by the way, Andrea, that's your life too. So I don't know how you do this unless you are massively disciplined.
And I think, Lisa, this also goes to something that you raised in our Espresso Shots episode, and check out show notes to see if that episode has already dropped. But you discussed the importance of staying focused and the importance of harnessing energy, and how you encourage your team members at Apolitical to take care of their mind and their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not rocket science, but it is brain science. I mean, just look at all the research, right? Like, if you don't allow rest, you don't have high performance. Think about all the great athletes. They don't go sprinting all the time. They have to rest. And the mind is like that too. You need time to rest. Martial arts is about this. It's about that moment right before you hit the wood. And so I'm not as good at it all the time. I sometimes can be a bit of a workaholic, but I have found personally for myself, having kids has been this forced discipline. So people say to me, oh, when people who take care of parents or have a pet or have children, is that a drawback in hiring them? And I'm like, are you kidding? A, that'd be illegal for most instances. But B, no, those are often the most disciplined people because they have to get their work done a certain amount of time and they have other things in their life that bring them pleasure. And so that fullness in human beings. I'm finding this a lot with young people too, that they are not being workaholics, that they're doing things after work like piano lessons or swimming. I never did any of that when I was coming up in my career, but I appreciate that those things can actually add to your performance.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.